mom was born in Boston and outside of Boston, and her mom died when she was 5 years old. And she had two younger brothers at the time, and her father worked down at the naval shipyards and really couldn't care for three children on his own. And his brother's wife took the kids in for some period of time, but it was the Depression, and she had three kids of her own, and you couldn't really feed six children. So my mother and her brothers were sort of separated when they were young. And during the war, my grandfather joined the Navy, and he was stationed in the South Pacific on an island that was embargoed by the Japanese, so they couldn't get food or supplies in. So when the war ended and my grandfather came home, he spent a couple of months in the hospital recovering because he was malnourished and about 100 pounds. And then he rejoined the family, got remarried, and he piled the family in the car to move to San Pedro because one of his Navy buddies recommended San Pedro to him. So the family moved to San Pedro, and they lived in apartments in Park Western. Those apartments are gone now. They're townhouses now. And my mother went to St. Anthony's High School in Long Beach. But she was part of a youth group at the Old Holy Trinity down on O'Farrell, that's now St. Peter's. And through the youth group, she met my dad's cousin, Augie Como. And Augie, when he met her, thought, oh, I think my cousin Joe would like her. So Augie came up with some ruse to take everyone out for ice cream or something after this event down with the youth group. And so Augie drove to where my dad kept his horse, Susie, off of Channel. That was just fields then, it's homes now. And Augie pulls up with these cute girls in the back seat of the car, and my dad goes up to the car and looks in the back seat and sees my mom, and as he told the story, he said to himself at the time, but to his cousin later, I choose that one. So he chose my mom then, but anyone who knows my mom, Dottie, she can't make a decision to save her life. I mean, if you've gone shopping with her to buy a gift or a dress or, God forbid, something big like a sofa, she tortures herself and everybody else with decision making. So it was 11 years before my parents walked down the aisle at Mary Star. And at the time, people, when they would leave their wedding, the sign on their car would say just married, but my parents' sign on their car said about time. After my parents got married, my grandparents decided to move back to Ischia for a year. And my grandmother was worried sick that my dad was going to starve to death because here he married this American girl, and maybe she's cute, but she clearly can't cook. So my Uncle Jack was assigned the task of checking in to see if my dad was eating well. So one day, early in her marriage, my mother decided to try her hand at corned beef hash. Now, my Uncle Vince was a lovely person in my memory. I just adored him. He was my godfather. He was my father's godfather, as kind could be. And that was the day he decided to check in on my father. And I'm sure his face did not betray the horror he was thinking as my mother serves this corned beef hash to my father. But suffice it to say, for the rest of the year that my grandparents were in Ischia, my uncle dropped off care packages made by my Aunt Victoria every night, and that's what they ate for dinner.